Continuing our focus on the security situation in the country, we've got Mr. Dennis Amakre joining us today again. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
Well, we've seen, again, in the dailies today, the president was quoted to have vowed to punish secessionists and terrorists. Those are the words, how the dailies reflected them. But then we've seen incidents in Plateau. We saw the recent ones in Niger, kidnaps in Kebbi. So you wonder, how do we reconcile those comments with what we see on ground? I mean, given your security background, how does that come across to you?
Well, thanks for having me here. We've heard these statements before, and I hope that the new service chiefs especially are going to take it very seriously. He made these statements when he went down to Maiduguri and at least saw the fighting forces themselves. And then, of course, rededicated himself to the fight against terrorism. I hope that, because Nigerians have waited for too long, I hope that this time around it's going to help and boost the morale and then, of course, get results, because I think what we're all waiting for now are results.
But, one wonders, how difficult is it for these results to actually occur, given time and again we hear about the readiness of security agencies there to carry out some of these actions. And yet we see governors just crying out that, saying, look, we can practically do nothing since command and control rests in Abuja.
Command and control actually does not rest in Abuja, because the governors sometimes, I think, are not being very truthful when it comes to that, because I have worked in a state and the governors are supposed to be the chief security officers. And when we say chief security officers, they have security council meetings. And in the meetings, they discuss security problems for that state. I don't think any security meeting, a police chief will now say, oh, let me contact Abuja, or the DSS will say, until I get a counter order from Abuja, I will not do it. Because they all have these people at their own disposal. So to come out and say, oh, they don't have power, I don't think that is correct.
So if at that Security Council meeting, they take a decision for the CP to execute,
yes,
and the IGP gives a contrary order, whose order will they take?
I don't think the IGP will give a contrary order, because the CP is a representative of the IG in that meeting. You can talk with him, and if there is any change or a slight issue that is of a nagging situation, then they can all discuss it all over again with the governor. But I don't think that the CP will come and tell the governor that I'm not going to do this because my IG said I shouldn't do it.
Then do we hear some governors, it's all over the place if you check it out, when they say, well, we arrested some persons who were caught with certain arms, they were supposed to be prosecuted, but at last they were released. Order from above.
The thing is this, who made the arrests? I hope it is not the governor himself. It must be the same police.
Wait, does that then invalidate the fact that a crime might have been committed? After all, there can be citizens' arrest, can't they?
Oh, definitely. And of course, that's what we've been talking about. You know how many kidnappings cases we've had in this country? The kidnappings, nobody has successfully prosecuted and then jailed these people. And so that's what we're talking about.
Why does who make the arrest matter?
No, anybody can make an arrest, even citizens. You can make an arrest, actually. But when it goes into the judicial system, I think that's another kettle of fish, where we are now grappling with, the judiciary doing its own job. Because we've not had any serious prosecution and conviction of kidnappers, especially in this country.
So you don't agree when governors say that they do not have enough powers over the police, consequently they can't do some things or take some actions with the police in their states?
governors have the power to cooperate with the police, or they take orders from the police are taking orders from them. And some of them actually even travel to Abuja to either see the DGSSS or the IG police and discuss with them. So I don't see where this is coming from, because anytime I hear governors cry out that they don't have their CSOs but they don't have power, I think actually what they are looking for, maybe they are just looking for forces that they might use against their political enemies.
Talking about politics, perhaps that's the challenge there, because some would say if the government at the center is different from, is not in the same political party as the governor in a particular state,
yes,
that sometimes there is a conflict of authority.
Yes, there is. There are some states. In fact, there are even examples of some states where the party at the state is different from the party at the center. And in situations like that, sometimes you will see that they don't agree on certain things. But one thing I know is that what they might do is to transfer the commissioner of police out. And of course, I've seen situations where the commissioner was actually cooperating with the governor, but because he was cooperating, he was transferred out. Now, we cannot tell the reasons why this is happening, but yes, partisan politics play a lot of role in that. Hence
the conversation around how can we be CSOs when we do not have authority over our own police chief in our state?
It depends on the kind of authority they're actually looking for.
Now, you just underscored it right now.
Yes.
That cooperation, leads to, one policeman being removed.
Yes, because, when a governor is, remember, he's not the commander-in-chief, the state governor, although he's in charge of the forces in his state. And of course, his public relations matters a lot. Because some of them, you can see, can you imagine where a governor will spend billions of naira buying vehicles for the police, and then when he asks them to do something, they say, no, we are not going to do it because we are waiting for Abuja. It doesn't happen, But I know there are these little situations where there are political insinuations of things playing out.
So in that light, what then would be your position on the agitation for state police?
Oh, state police, I think is what I've been agitating for myself personally. But again, I have to make this particular statement whereby let governors not think that state police are going to be created for them, because that's what we have been worried about. State police are created to enforce state laws. Federal police will enforce federal laws. And that's why we're saying that they should also be independent. Because when you create a state police, many governors actually believe that state police will be part of their party machinery, whereby they now can use them against their political opponents. But the police should enforce, because that's the job of the police, enforce law concerning the state. Local government sheriffs will enforce laws concerning the local government and not what the governor is telling them, independently to do outside the law.
I'd like to explore that part about a governor maybe asking a commissioner to do something, and the commissioner says, well, I need to get an order from Abuja, just hypothetically now. I try to wrap my head around it. Is it that a governor will tell a commissioner that there's been a crime, we need to investigate the crime, and the commissioner will say, wait a minute, let me get back to Abuja to get order? Or is it when the governor tells the commissioner to do things that are maybe untoward, that the commissioner says, you know what, I need to get order? Because how does it work really?
Now, I don't think there is any commissioner of police who will refuse to investigate a criminal case that is brought to his office. But at the same time, like I said earlier, there are some governors that might want to arrest, enforce. For instance, we've had a case where you have a sitting governor blocking out a property that belongs to a former governor. And then the sitting governor will ask the police commissioner to enforce that. Now, if it is of political nature, what the commissioner might do is say, okay, we'll do it, but let's have clarification. Because anytime they go and involve themselves in politics, that's where the problem comes in.
But should the clarification come from above or wherever, or from the law? Because we have laws, and
yes.
laws are pretty clear about
yes.
rules of engagement. So I still, maybe I'm just naive really, but shouldn't the law be, what they say it is, a grand norm?
The law is actually even, justice is blind, you know, and the law is supposed to carry out according to the tenets that is given. But like I said, they mix politics. There is this little spice of politics that they always put in there. Now, the commissioners are in a very, very dire straits to distinguish, to come up with that idea. The same thing with the military or even the DSS, where you have to make sure that you are not getting yourself involved in a political situation. So I think that it is left to the commissioners to actually interpret this, and they can always seek for confirmation, clarification.
How then, well, maybe that clarification would help to dichotomize that issue. How do people separate politics from the political appointment or whatever, from the appointment or the person who appointed them into office? You mentioned earlier the fact that sometimes the police commissioner could be removed for cooperating with the governor, and you have alluded it to being political influence. So how do we separate politics from the function of the security officials that are supposed to perform their duties, so to speak?
From the kind of system we operate right now, you will hardly separate it. You will hardly separate it because, remember, we have the police as reporting to the president. The DSS is actually a department of the presidency. So, except these two bodies are independent, it will be very, very difficult for them not to obey orders, be it of political nature.
So, I mean, let's take this to the recent abductions we have seen now. Just yesterday, you heard the governor of Niger State saying they're foreign bandits. And that's something we've heard time and again. I mean, we've heard it at different levels. And also, another cleric was heard saying, well, there are about 100,000 of these bandits or thereabouts, and what the government needs to do is negotiate with them. We saw the governor of Niger State in court commissioning a multi-sectoral kind of security outfit, just right there, made up of the police, you know, the vigilantes and the rest. And the order was clear for them to comb the forest to get those abducted children back. But when you hear the different signals and the different comments being made, foreign bandits, there needs to be some form of negotiation. Do you get a sense that we're really getting the picture clearer by the day, or it's still not clear?
We're getting the picture clearer by the day, because the original question is, how did these bandits come into Nigeria? You know, did they just carry a herd of cattle into Nigeria, or they came in as adventurers, or they just took advantage of the porous borders that we have? So that is another research for the security agencies to do. Or maybe they already know who these people are. But these people have caused a lot of problem in this country, and I think what they need to do right now, urgently too, is to take them out.
We don't have to tell about how all of these things happened.
Oh, they do. There is intel about who they are, how they come in. The president himself has said it, that they should ask them, you know, they should deal with it and get them out of the country. So I think there's a lot of stories about who these people are, because they didn't just drop from heaven.
So why do you think we're still grappling with this?
Because there are interests. There are interests in there, probably. And I think well, that's why I was saying that there should be the political will to take them out. Take them out because of the problem they are causing for Nigerians, especially in the northwest and central part of the country.
So, political will from who?
Political will from the politicians, starting from the president, governors, all of them will decide. The president has come out, in fact, to be fair to him, he's been out recently to say that, you know, these guys should be taken care of. They should take them out of the forest, look for them in those ungoverned spaces. The IG of police himself has said it, that they are going after them in the ungoverned spaces. So let's take them out and move forward.
What do you make of the Niger State governor's comments where he was saying, look, we couldn't wait anymore, so they had to do what they're doing? Doesn't that then suggest that, well, we waited for the authorities, order from above to come to our rescue, but since that's not happening, hence the need why we brought all of those other people to go and do the job?
It's actually not a matter of order from above. Number one, our police are very, very thinly spread to take care of the internal security problems. That's why the military has even been invited in. And even the military themselves, you know, are very few to take care of even the territorial problems that we're having right now. So with all these volunteers coming up, I think it's a very good idea.
Yeah, but Mr. Macro, sorry to jump in. When you say you don't think it's a question of order from above, if you do remember about 3-4 months ago, when there was an abduction in the state, the governor himself, Niger State governor, did say he's not getting support from Abuja. So if they had communicated to him the challenges, would he make that statement?
Maybe what he was saying, that he doesn't get support from Abuja, maybe he's looking for federal government to pay the ransom. You know, because that is what kind of support does he want? Does he want negotiators from federal government to go and negotiate or what? And that's why they are saying that these governors have to sit up and then take responsibility, because it is always federal government, but the state governors are there. Even the local government from where they were taking these children out. You never hear of the in Yauri now. Who is the local government chairman?
Yeah, but why would you think that it could be because he wants them to pay the ransom? Because right now, those images we saw, it's not about him demanding for ransom. He's getting men to go and do the job.
Yeah,
isn't that what he wants?
I don't know whether he's actually looking for military power to go. Because you can see even some of the governors, they talk directly with the commanders. You know, so saying that Abuja is not giving him
but you know, there are two different things. No matter how good your relationship is with the commander, he can't take orders from you when the CEC is there.
Oh, no, the CEC has already given his order. It is not, I don't think the CEC actually micromanages the commanders or the chief of staff. Doesn't micromanage the commanders. The commanders are there.
Isn't that what we saw in Lagos during the NSAS protest when they said, well, look, we take orders from the commander-in-chief, not from the state government? That's where the army gets their command from.
I don't think even those kind of communication is necessary to come into public, because if you see military anywhere, know that the CNC must have ordered it, or the chief of staff must have said, okay, you guys should go. So even police coming out in the public and saying, oh, we're doing this because it's an order from the above, I think is irrelevant.
But you said earlier, Mr. Amakri, that sometimes political interests color the decision. So if the CNC, well, if the order has been given, I mean, just as you know, the CNC may give the order, but then whoever it is, the commander still has to follow a chain of command, so to speak, and who knows where using the Russian relay ideology now, who knows where the conversation could be colored to the theater commander right there. So that political the coloration that you talked about, couldn't that also play a role?
Yes, it could, but you know, the
So
others...
consequently then underscoring the need, or rather the reason for the governors calling for more support, for more authority over the security personnel in their terrain.
Calling for more support does not mean that they are being denied support. You know, they are not denied support. But calling for more means that the governor has looked around his environment and he feels that, you know, there is need for more. You know, and of course, remember, we don't have enough military. And I don't know why they are not even recruiting. Because we've said this before, police, NSCDC, DSS, Army, Navy, Air Force, all of them, not up to 1 million in Nigeria. So why?
Sorry.
Why are we not recruiting? And we are in a very bad situation, insurgency, almost turning into a war. And we have a lot of, look at those people in Niger State that the governor was mobilizing. Why can't we formalize them and put them in the military or in the police? You know, I don't know why we don't want to recruit. And that is our problem right now.
But something you said earlier, Mr. Makri, that's a little troubling for me. When you talk about political will, and you referenced, you know, the law and the constitution earlier when my colleagues asked you a question, I'm just wondering, is that to say that the laws are not effective enough if we still have to have political will for people to do the jobs of obeying the constitution and enforcing the laws that they got the job to do? Why do we still need the political will?
Let me make this clear again. The Department of State Services and the police are departments of the presidency. So they take orders from the president. And the president, when giving orders, might also put some party affiliations into play. Now, if they were independent, then it does not matter whose ox is God. You know, so you find out that in certain countries, if the president misbehaves or do anything against the constitution of that country, he will be arrested. But you can't do that in Nigeria because you cannot arrest your boss. And that is why the National Assembly might want to think about it. They'll say, okay, let the allegiance of the security agencies be to the Constitution and not to a single person. And I think that's...
But isn't that what the governors have been saying? You just said it.
Yes.
Isn't it the point that the governors were making?
Well, the governors are making the point because they are also rooting for state police so that they can have their own to command. You know, but I'm sorry to say, because if the state police comes out in the way that it should come out, the state police will be enforcing state laws and not taking orders from the governor because of his political affiliations.
You know, Mr. Makri, when you make the point that the police, the DSS, are departments under the presidency, suggesting, of course, they take instructions from him. But then you say the states, if we do have state police, they will be enforcing the law and not that of the state government or taking instruction from the state government. So this means they will be operating differently from what the current policing structure and establishment is at the moment, is it?
Yes, you know, if the new structure, the new security architecture, or what you want to call it, should be in a way that if we have state police, that means there will be a federal police. And if there's a federal police, there will also be a local government police. And in the federal government, federal police category, you have the DSS, you have EFCC, you have customs, immigration. You know, these are agencies that will have responsibilities that cut across, you know, the whole country. So then state police will enforce state laws, either traffic laws that affect only that law, that state, because you go to some states, they have you will have different laws that affect them because of their peculiar environment. But so that's how it should be, not one that when you come into this state is a PDP state. So anything against PDP, they will be pursuing you, the police will be pursuing you, or it's an APC state. No, that's not.
So why don't we then, because they could make the arguments to different states now, I mean, that, well, whoever is at the center controls the police. So why are we then saying whoever is at the state shouldn't control the police? Why don't we then try and make it, look, police is independent of whoever the office of the president. Let them obey the law. Whoever oxes God. So shouldn't that be the focus, such that we ensure that nobody, no agency is beholden to any office?
I agree with you totally. All the police in the country should be independent to uphold the law and nothing but the law. You know, so that way they are not, you know, partisan in their enforcement, and they should be just for the country.
But from what we've seen, I mean, clearly the executive, the president, for example, his orders seem to be, I mean, let me just use the term, what they fly with. So the shoot at sight order, for example, those carrying AK-47, I mean, that was an order from the president. You might look around the laws and you might not exactly see something like that, shooting, I mean, at sight in some sense. I mean, a lot of lawyers actually came at the president for making or giving that order. So there's that one. But going back to the talk about foreign bandits coming up, the governor of Niger State, we listened to him, was saying, you know what, we need to speak with our neighbors. And I recall when we had issues with importing, when Nigeria had to close the borders, there was a decisive step that was taken. And I recall the government kept saying that we need to ensure that our neighboring countries, you know, give their word that they are going to, of course, sort their end of the border so that we don't have the proliferation of, in fact, arms were actually part of it as well, and food items, goods, and the rest. So it was decisive for that. Do you think something decisive should also come from the president regarding the influx of these foreign bandits?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think he has already said it, but I think many people didn't catch it. When the president of Chad came to Nigeria, you know, and when he was seeing him off, the president said it. He said, you know, if we have bandits that are disturbing us from foreign countries, they should deal with them and send them back to where they come from. So I think that's decisive enough, but I don't know why they have still been hanging around, or, you know, some people are even going to negotiate with them and trying to see if they will be taken care of, because that's one thing I've heard from the bandits camp, that they are not being taken care of. What does that mean? Is Nigeria supposed to take care of them? You know, so these are things that the security agencies have to look at. But,
you know, still staying on that, when you say it has been decisive, we saw what happened with that border closure, how it went on for months, and it was a real border closure. And in fact, we had other countries, neighboring countries, literally saying Nigeria should open its border, this is not fair, going to ECOWAS and the rest. That was decisive. There was a border closure. Nigeria ensured that it got the commitment of neighboring countries that you're going to keep your end of the bargain, ensure that, I mean, these things don't just come out anyhow. So on the level of the border closure we saw there, would you say that what we're doing now is as decisive to ensure that those foreign bandits don't find their way into the country?
I think those foreign bandits were in Nigeria before the border closure. They were in Nigeria before the border closure. And of course, when you look at that border closure, you know, it might have been effective in the formal borders, like Benin Republic or some other areas. But up there in the Chad, Niger area, I think people were still trooping in and out of the border, you know, and that's why we're saying that our borders are so porous, and something has to be done about it.
But you recall what the president said last week at the authorities of heads of state, that meeting, where he spoke about what's happening in Libya currently, the UN asking, you know, fighters to leave Libya, as it were, and he was concerned that they're not being disarmed before they leave. And you know what that might mean to our security here in the country. If they leave with their arms, can imagine what will happen. So there was a statement given saying, leave. Do you think that kind of statement should also come from the government saying, well, every foreign bandit here that you don't have anything, that you're causing trouble, leave or else? I mean, something that decisive, or is this maybe too much, or this is being done?
I don't know. I think that decision will be left for the president and his cabinet to make.
The challenge then would be, how do we even identify who is who? That conversation has also taken place. How do we know the Nigerian from the foreign Fulani?
You have to
For
realize,
instance.
yeah, you know that Nigeria is the largest black country in the world, largest black country by population. And most of the people in this country are dark-skinned. And of course, a lot of, especially West Africans, many of them are coming to Nigeria, living here and having children who are even Nigerians, and they can vote and be voted for. You know, so it's a problem. I don't know whether it's a problem or a blessing, but I think this is a homeland where you have a lot of these people coming in, and then of course they will argue with you whether they are Nigerians or not.
Who will argue?
Anybody. If a Ghanaian can tell you he's a Nigerian, and you can argue with him that you're not a Nigerian
Doesn't that in a way...
because of the way you're speaking.
I asked that question against the backdrop of what the president himself said when he said that most of the people that are committing, these crimes, many of them are not Nigerians. And some other, authority or figures have said the same thing. So doesn't that in a way question our processes and our arrangements in such a way that people come into the country, we're not able to track them, we're not able to identify where they live and all of that? What should we do in that regard to ensure that these are true Nigerians who are Nigerians indeed, and they are in Nigeria legally, as opposed to those who just come and go,
Ayo, what you are suggesting is a very mighty thing to do. And the only way we can do it is to go back to basics. We go back to basics whereby during our census records, they are not even, automated, whereby you call up somebody to say, this is a Nigerian, this is where he was born, and this was, so we have to look at those ones. And as a nation, start looking at those fundamentals. Otherwise, we open our doors to all kinds of people that will be living in this country.
There's just so much going on, and looking through even what the governor did there, having to enlist all of those other persons, who, by the way, they're all armed, as we've seen that. If you were to recommend solutions, because from what we've seen, schools are a target. The kidnappings going on, without even mentioning the farmers and herders killings that were going on. How do you suggest we even approach these things? Because citizens out there may be waiting for authorities to do certain things, but perhaps, as the governor said, they shouldn't just be there as sitting ducks, because that's what it entails if they do nothing.
Yes, I think that's an area that, the Kebbi kidnapping was a game changer, whereby they just didn't sit down there and then after the kidnap try to play the victim. They went ahead and supported the law enforcement security agents. They were helping in giving information, in pursuing those guys to wherever they are. And we find out that they even rescued some of them. So this is what we're saying. This thing should not be left to government security agencies alone. I believe strongly that everybody needs to get involved. Getting involved in the sense of either giving information or, doing other things that will support, these bandits to operate anyhow they like in the country.
So sounds like you're suggesting a multi-pronged approach. Maybe
yes.
Let me just get your thoughts on this one that has also been suggested, some sort of negotiations. Fact that, some say these bandits have been mistreated. I think you even referenced that by some people, and they are aggrieved, and this is the best way they can go about their grievances. Some say that this is a way to make ends meet, as it were, for them. Different angles to this. So they've called it the carrot and stick approach, non-kinetic, and the rest. Is this also, should this also be part of what we're doing to address this?
Yes, the non-kinetic approach, if expanded, will get us into what we call the all-society approach. All society, that means in getting everybody involved. It's not just a military thing or police thing. Everybody in the society must get involved. People should be trained. We've talked about safe school initiatives. These safe school initiatives are not even being touched. They should look at it and implement some of the aspects of those initiatives that can be done without even government coming into it.
So how do you negotiate with foreign bandits? Because time and again it has been said that these people are foreign. Is that proper? How does that sit?
If they are foreign and they are bandits and they are taking hostages, I don't believe in paying ransom to them, because when you pay ransom to them, as most northern governors have come to discover, they go and buy more arms and come after you. But you can negotiate with them and talk with them so that they don't harm the hostages. But the best way to deal with this, we know they are foreigners. I think the full weight of the law and our military should go in there and take them out, instead of even thinking of negotiating with them.
Do you think they even have something on the authorities for them to keep thinking about negotiating? They were not being taken care of. They need to be taken care of.
Yeah, because you have some well-placed Nigerians who are even going there and talking with them, taking selfies with them. And these are the same people that must be giving them that backing for them to be doing what they're doing.
Give us your impression as we wind down this narrative, this back and forth. There was this quote-unquote anonymous letter that was written by a certain anonymous Fulani group to Delta State for this open grazing. But of course, the leadership of Metiala said, look, these are faceless, trying to destabilize and cause trouble. But it appears as though there's much more to that, because there's a response from Chief Clark. And today, you get to see images everywhere, not everywhere, in what we see here now, as highlighted by Vanguard, in front of Uheli North Local Government Secretariat in Delta State. So what do you think is, some of the things playing out, and what are the potentials if they are not properly managed?
Well, a full assessment of that letter, that leaflet, let's say, will tell you that it is fake. Whoever wrote it is mischievous, trying to cause problem in the society. But of course, those who are affected might read it as true and then start to react. But when you look at it, you find out nobody will call himself, I am a Fulani jihadist. That's not the name you call yourself when you are dealing with other people or trying to introduce yourself to other people. So that alone will tell you that, no, this is from a third party trying to cause problem, mischievous problem in society. But I think these security agencies have looked at that letter very, very closely, reviewed it, and I think they've come up to that same conclusion. But whoever is reacting to it should also know that this is somebody trying to just stoke the flames to destabilize the country.
Yeah, the thing is, there are elements who may be looking to take advantage of certain situations in the country by coming up with such. So the thing is, do you think that first security agencies, have they done enough if they have certain that, look, this is fake? Because they need to reach out to the populace. There may be those who may not have heard the narrative that this is fake, and they might have already begun running with that. So in terms of their communication and their action, are you satisfied with what you've seen to prevent anything breaking down moving forward?
No, I'm not satisfied because at least there is this public relations that we don't do in this country. When you see something like this and you find out that it is incendiary, and then of course some people might be worried about it, we expect the police public relations person or the commissioner of police of that state to come out and address it and kill that matter right there and then. But you allow it. I know that they were investigating this particular letter. I know that. But what are the conclusions? What are the findings? Tell the public so that everybody will have a calm mind about that.
Because communication is key here.
Definitely.
There will always be elements who will be seeking to take advantage of the fault lines and, just cause mayhem. But I guess, enough said, we'll just have to keep doing what everyone needs to do to ensure that we see this all out. But thank you very much indeed, Mr. Dennis Amakwe, for your perspectives.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, clearly, we'll be heading to Abuja for our next segment. Makwe?
Indeed, I was hoping that we could have that starter video to kickstart the conversation and perhaps set the context for our conversation this morning. Just yesterday, the All Progressives Congress Youth Wing, if I may use that term, held their first ever conference here in Abuja, and the Vice President was there, and he spoke on the importance of unity. There were many other speakers at that event, ministers, some of their comments generated controversy. I don't know if our producers have that video on cue, do they?
It was a chance to take a stand for the new guard of the All Progressives Congress, a predominantly young guard bent on taking over a lot of the party's affairs and taking power come the 2023 elections.
And for the first time in 20 years, President Muhammadu Buhari, the name Muhammadu Buhari will not be on the ballot. That means that the party will have to go and look for its votes where the votes are residual. The president will transfer some of his votes to us. The party has transformed itself under the leadership of the National Caretaker Committee chairman. But more importantly, the votes are with young people.
The old guard of the party are ready for a change of guard. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, speaking virtually, called for effective leadership recruitment if the APC wants to survive the years ahead. Others call for caution.
I implore you all and every young Nigerian to never despair, nor relent in our joint task of nation building. Remember, we have no other country but Nigeria.
Progressive elements with evil interest in causing confusion, creating and fanning hate and disunity will always rely on you to achieve such negative and patriotic tendencies. You must resist them.
I'm crossing the aisle to the other side now, from youth to the other side. You will also have to be patient and go through the mentorship system in political parties. You must be patient also. You must be on the queue. Be on the queue, you will be recognized.
Not many young politicians here are willing to wait in line any longer.
I totally disagree with Mr. Festus Keyamo. I totally disagree with him. We will not wait. If we wait for him, that tomorrow will never come. Unfortunately, Mr. Festus Keyamo said power is not served, it is taken. We are going to take it.
All political parties in Nigeria have been accused of not having actual ideologies and just being vehicles used to attain political power. This notion is debunked by several speakers at the event, notably the Minister of Works and Housing.
Progressivism itself is an ideology. And I tell people that for me, what being a progressive simply means is a commitment to improving the human condition.
Change can only be implemented by those in political office, says the Vice President, urging youth participation, affirmative action or not, and the proliferation of ideas, noting that these ideas will determine how long it will take the old guard to step aside. He restates the need for a united country fair to its citizens.
Those who advocate the breaking up of the country are terribly wrong. Our size is crucial for geopolitical and economic relevance. all of those waiting on the sidelines, hoping that this big country called Nigeria will break up into bits so that they can pick up the pieces, will be very sorely disappointed.
How positioned the All Progressives Congress is for the 2023 general elections is still to be seen. However, these young minds say they are poised for the job ahead and will wait for their turn no more. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Well, the conversation already kick-started behind the scenes, and I can tell you it's going to be an interesting one. We have with us Alwan Hassan, who is a member of the All Progressives Congress, and we have Emmanuel Ume, who is the head of new media of the People's Democratic Party. Gentlemen, we're going to have about a minute or 30 seconds each before we finally go to break, and then we'll get the conversation started. Okay. But quickly, as a member of the PDP, what was your impression of that conference?
For me, I just felt it was laughable. After 6 years in government, they promised that they were going to make young people ministers. The youngest person in this government that is a minister is 47 years old, who happens to be the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. The Minister of Youth is way over 50. So if after 6 years in government, you promise 3 million jobs to young people, and then today we have over 6 million people in poverty in just 1 year, when World Bank report, then I just feel this whole conference is just more or less like a jamboree. It's just a preparation for 2023. And Nigerian youths are, intelligent enough to decipher, people that just want to make so much noise and then no substance.
Well, laughable is how he describes it. But there was a reason why you guys decided that a youth conference was in order. Why did you put it together?
Thank you, Maupe. I need to correct what you said, that for the first time APC is having a conference of young people. It is for the first time in this country. Any other party, no party has ever done this. We were the first people to bring the young people together to now invite our leaders to tell them and hold them accountable and tell them that we need more inclusion in the system. It's not, PDP has never done it. We don't even know the youths of the PDP. Do they even exist? They don't. They are supposed to be the ones having such conferences by now, calling us to order, keeping us on check. They can't do it, and we're doing it for them. We called our leaders. We told them there is a problem. We have challenges, and these are our solutions. We're going to write the communique and give it to them. 4 of them were there. The president was there. The vice president was there. The senate president was there. The speaker of the House of Representatives was there. Ask him if they've ever put together these 4 offices as a young people in the PDP. Have they? They've never not.
Well, I'm hoping that at the end of this conversation, which promises to be interesting, that it would not be an APC-PDP conversation. It will be a conversation about young people. Let's see what happens after the break. Please stay with us. Alwan Hassan, member of the All Progressives Congress, and Emmanuel Ume, head of new media at the People's Democratic Party, are our guests this morning, and we're having a conversation on youth inclusion in politics on the back of the conversation which the APC held yesterday for its youth conference. Well, gentlemen, it would seem that the problems, well, some of the messages there, even though they were at the youth conference of the APC, they would seem they apply nationally. The vice president was talking about how young people will have to leave social media spaces and, join politics. And it would seem that it's a problem that both parties suffer. That lack of interest in joining politics. I don't know if you have seen it and what explains it in your own opinion.
Just to correct, he made certain assertions that I needed to correct. In 2015, just before the then president left, he had an engagement with young people. The then youth leader, Basira, had organized an engagement with young people where young people met with the president, as at that time when he was still the president. The president wasn't even courageous enough to attend their own event. He sent in representatives. So it tells you where his interest lies. In just last year...
The vice president doesn't count?
Come on. The vice president that attends trader money. For me, yes, fine, but I felt it would have gained... Your next president. It would, which next president? It would have gained more, interest if the president attended that event personally, but he didn't. In 2012, last year we had a youth program. We're doing a 6 geopolitical zone program. So we started from the southeast, where we had a youth engagement with youth leaders in the southeast. We moved into Bauchi just early this year, and then we'll be hosting another, geopolitical zone. So just to correct that impression, you were talking about the unity and interest in politics. This government has done so much to take away the attention of young people, coming into politics. This is a government that every single time where young people want to get involved in politics, want to get involved in governance, their policies, the kind of laws that they make has always driven young people away. You remember just, NSAS protest that just happened a few months ago. Nothing that people were asking of. They just wanted police brutality to end. And what happened? The president, just a few weeks ago, came out to say that, young people wanted to chase him out of House Rock. That tells you the kind of mentality that the president has. The election that happened in Kogi State, where young people came out to vote, you saw where they were using helicopters to fire at young people that came out to vote. It is not me saying they have evidence to prove, otherwise. You saw what happened even in my friend's state, in Kano, where young people came out to vote, and, the rest is history. The same happened in Osun State. The same even happened in Lagos State during the 2019.
So the question is about inclusion, because if you ask me, I haven't followed the political parties for a while now. Yeah. It would seem that it's been a problem even when the PDP was in power. No. Let me give you an instance. Okay. I do recall that there was a time when, talking about leaders within parties, when it wasn't confirmed, but I did not go and personally confirm the age, but it was in the papers that the age of the youth leader then in the PDP was a 60-year-old. Yeah, and they felt that, they felt that these are the kinds of things that alienate young people, and even positions that should exclusively be left for young people are manned by people who are not youth, so to speak. So how do they intend to draw young people into the party to ensure that it is inclusive in its policies and in its politics? Yes, I remember back then, and then we raised an alarm, we raised an issue. That was way back, I think, about 6-7 years ago. And that was what brought me Basira then as a youth leader, who happens to be the youngest youth leader even APC government hasn't produced. He was a youth leader of PDP, I think, at 33 or 34 years. You were talking about governance of PDP. For example, I don't know whether we've forgotten that Donald Duke was a governor in his 30s, right? Amici was a speaker in his 30s. So those complaints was a governor in his 30s. Those complaints at that time, they were not valid? No. What complaints about the non-inclusiveness of young people? I'm saying, no, I'm not saying it's not valid. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that even when it became an issue, the party took a decision quickly, and then that was what made Basira the youth leader at that time. And he was in his 30s. So I'm saying that PDP has always been a party that always wants to include young people in its governance system. I gave you an example of where young governors in their 30s were made governors. The former speaker, Bankole, was in his 30s, right? So, of course, he was in his 30s when he became a speaker under the PDP government. So the point I'm making is that PDP has always been a party that always wants youth inclusion. You can even see when we're in government, the youth in government as at that time compared to what we have now is a far cry. I just gave you an example that for the youngest minister in this government is 48 years. The average age of the minister in this government is 61 years. So if you're talking about a government that promised in 2019 that they were going to make young people ministers, and the youngest person is 48 years. So you can't even compare after 6 years in government. You don't see competent young people enough to make ministers. And it tells you everything about the party and its administration. I'm sure that you definitely have your own response to that, even though I'm trying my best to bring out, conversations that there will be general response to. I mean, in terms of the engagement. But I'm thinking, if people, I mean, with some of the examples that he's given, where, you know, there were still instances of young people in leadership positions, given the age of some of the elected and appointed, you know, personalities, but most of them elected who he's made reference to in the time of the PDP. It would seem that a lot of that has fizzled out now, you know, in the APC, and maybe that's one of the reasons why you had to have this conference. Would that be correct?
Maupe, I need to correct a notion. I think he has not watched, because he has said he hasn't watched our conference yesterday. In that room yesterday, you find the chief of staff to Kaduna State government. In that room yesterday, you find the chief of staff to Kogi State government. In that room yesterday, you find commissioners of finance of Ekiti State, of Katsina State, Kasim Mutalab, and commissioner from Kebbi, in the name of Kalian. These are young people manning positions in the government. No, you don't have to be in the center. It's not everybody that was ministers out of the 40 ministers the president was appointing. There are a lot of things you can do, and that is where inclusiveness comes. Politics is local. That is why we now send it to the states. And he was talking about their conference they did in a zone and did in this zone. You see where we're getting it wrong, Maupe. Their leaders had badges and ID cards of region, and they divided this country. That was what divided this country. And that is exactly what they have passed to them, and that's what they're trying to do. We called Nigerians to the capital.
But you just said...
We called Nigerians to the capital yesterday. We don't go to zones because we believe the country is one. And exactly what our vice president was talking about, unity.
If I may, you just said politics is inclusive. I mean, if you're talking about young people being involved at the local level, the zones, the states, where the people are, isn't that correct?
Absolutely.
So what's wrong with engaging with them at the zonal level?
If you're having a conference of a party, a nationalist party, like their own and ours, you should come to Abuja and call everybody. You don't go to zones. If you go to zones, you are defining it as this is your zone, this is your problem, and this is what you're tackling.
It shouldn't exclude zonal engagements, should it?
But the main thing should be in Abuja. The main conference, this is what they have never had. A conference like ours that should happen in this town. And that is what we did. And that is what, and in fact, what...
well, that's not the question I have posed to you, though. The question I posed is about whether it's because you have seen the fact that young people have not been as included as they ought to be. Is that the reason why you have had this conference?
What we are saying is it's not enough. There are a lot of young men in this government. Kashifu of NITDA is less than 40. Ahmed Salihijo of REA is less than 40.
He made specific reference to the promise that, you know,
no, I'm just telling you that we have a lot of people.
Included as ministers.
But it can never be enough for young people. We are 70% of the population of this country. All of us cannot be appointed in the government, even if they come back tomorrow.
But do we see that reflected? The fact that, you know, this country
and that was why we called them. That was why we called them yesterday, to tell them that it's not enough. We demand more. We want to participate. Give us a chance to take over our country, our government. This is what we told them, and a lot of them, they have said it. It's not about age or about we living as old people, then you people come in. If you listen to the vice president, that was what he was saying. Get involved, come in, let's start like that.
To your mind, why do you think it's been very difficult for young people to be really included in politics and in government?
It is because we refuse to participate. People see politics as a toggery. We refuse to participate because of the mentality they have put in young men in Nigeria in the last 16 years. People see politics as a dirty game. And let me tell you the difference between us and them. If you look at that hall yesterday, 95% of the attendants paid for their flight tickets. We only gave them hotels. We came together to gather money and got a hotel room for them. You should have a second office. You should have a second address, not just being based in politics. That is our ideology. That is the progressiveness in us. You have to have a business. Politics is not a business. Politics is about governance. So our difference with them is the commitment.
I feel somewhat hampered right now. It would have been very interesting to see just what, what the comments would have been on Twitter, which you were active on, and I'm sure he's active on. He's head of new media of the PDP.
Yeah.
It would have been very interesting to see just what people were going to be tweeting as you were saying this.
If there was no disrespect from the owner of Twitter, if there was no disrespect to our president from the owner of Twitter, we could have seen it.
Well, that is
and as a patriotic Nigerian, Maopi, and you as a patriotic Nigerian would not allow a foreigner come in to insult our government, our president.
Do you miss Twitter?
I'm on Twitter. I want the president. They said they were going to, at the time they said they were going to arrest people that are still on Twitter. I'm still on Twitter. I'm waiting for them to come and arrest me. And, when we talk about governance, this APC government, I don't understand if they understand what governance is. You have young people on Twitter who make ends meet from Twitter, who make daily living from Twitter. Because of an ego of a president, you've destroyed people's businesses, you've destroyed people's lives, and then you're talking about insult. Twitter didn't insult Nigeria. What Twitter did was that they deleted a post.
Was that not an insult?
They deleted a post from the president who happens to violate their own rules.
All right, well, we'll apologize for the loss in the visuals there, but we'll just sort it out and get back to them. So I know it's quite a coincidence.
Oh, yes.
At the mention of the name Twitter, and then that just happened. So, yeah. It's just live TV. It can happen.
We'll definitely pick up that conversation from where it ended and just ensure.
Oh, well, can we still get the same verve? If that, well, we hope they don't drop the tempo.
Oh, yes, yes.
Well, but because the conversation is actually quite interesting and very, very important at this time. Remember, the president signed that Not Too Young to Run bill into law. I hope the conversation will also go into the issues and not just the back and forth about what our party did, what their party did. Look, what's important right now is how do we galvanize these young people? As they have also mentioned, and I think I already referenced earlier, 70% of the voting population are young people. What side of the divide are they going to find themselves? Are they going to go with this party or that party? Or are they going to form a youth party? Well, that's quite a population.
The thing about some of those is, it's a democracy. Ideas are always welcome across board. That's why it is a democracy. The ideas have got to contend.
Absolutely.
But what I think will benefit the country in the long run is such that they institutionalize some of these policies. So that, as we always say here, it's not just about one political party or the other. It's about the country. So if that were to be institutionalized, it's easy for any young person or young groups or agencies to say, okay, well, this is this country's thinking opposition about young people. We could say that about Canada, about their inclusion and how they approach things. We could say that about certain other countries in the West, but largely us here, maybe Africa too. Do we really take that serious, given the population of young people in this continent? It's huge.
When you talk about institutionalizing a policy, the question that comes to my mind is exactly what are we institutionalizing or how? Look at the policies around issues that are primarily concerns of the young people. Education. Look at our national education policy. Health. Look at our national health policy. How futuristic is it? Technology. Look at our policy on technology. How futuristic is it? How inclusive is it? Those are issues.
Yeah, but let's also not forget, look, the truth is these things won't drop on the laps of young people.
Okay.
They won't expect, it won't be a handout to young people. They have to actually fight for these things, contend. But to do that, you have to be in there. But perhaps we should just go through that report again and hoping that we'll sort it out in a moment. All right, I think we've sorted that now, and then we'll go back to them. I think it was Twitter. Yes. Well, Mark, over to you.
Well, Owen and Emmanuel are still here with us, and we're having a conversation on young people. So sorry about the blackout. just happened, one of those technical hitches. But gentlemen, you heard some of the questions my colleagues were raising just before that report went back on air about the inclusiveness of young people. The fact that the hopes, when the Not Too Young to Run bill was signed, the hopes was that we would see more young people coming out to, you know, put themselves up for office. Do you think that they understand the impact that politics would have on their lives? I mean, aside what is done on social media, even though that's what we're talking about before we went on blackout, do they understand beyond the keyboard that real work lies in being able to deliver impact through political offices on the lives of fellow citizens?
Yeah, you know, this is where I'll come in. I think my party is doing something in that regard. There's a group, Generation X, that's been created, that was created fully from the party, where it's more or less like a mentorship program, you know, mentoring young people, telling them what they should do, giving them the necessary advice, you know. I think more young people right now understand that fact that, you know, beyond social media, you need to go back to the grassroots and do that work, connect with the people, you know, get to involve, get to talk with them, understand what the issues are. I think more young people are getting more involved. If you look at if you see the awareness going on right now on both social media, on both conventional media, or even, you know, generally, you see more young people are getting involved in politics. They want to understand what is going on. They want to hold, you know, their representatives accountable. So for me, I see more young people going into governance. I see more young people getting involved. I see more young people, you know, getting aware, being aware of what, you know, is happening around them. For me, I see more young people getting involved in politics.
The solutions, because there's a lot of talk around our oneness right now. Yeah. There's a lot of talk around restructuring and what have you. How engaged do we see young people in this sort of conversations, especially because the future of the country, which we're trying to restructure, is theirs ultimately?
I agree. That conversation must start with the current leaders we have right now, right? And then the young people will take it up from there, where you have a president, and I'm honestly, I don't want to be political in what I'm saying. These are reality, that we are more divided as a country today, you know, than ever any other time in our history. I feel that the president, you know, should do something about the unity of this country. I would prefer, you know, simple solutions. I believe that the president should go to the 6 geopolitical zones, meet with leaders, hear from them. I don't think that they elected a president that will stay far away from them. Meet with them, go to the 6 geopolitical zones, sleep in, for example, you say you're going to the Southeast, with what is going on in the Southeast. If you are going to say, go to Enugu, have a whole 24 hours, sleep there, have a conversation with them, have a dinner, you know, party, or rather a dinner event, listen to the leaders, and then the next day you go to, or rather maybe another time, you go to another geopolitical zone. You need to listen and get feedbacks of what is going on from your people. The country as it stands today is divided. People are angry. It seems like if there is no hope. And the present leadership must show leadership. They must be courageous enough to show that leadership. I'm not trying to play politics here, and I'm just being honest with you. Whether young people will get included in governance, when young people try to get included and then people are being arrested for protesting, just protesting, you see a supposed young governor arresting 2 young individuals because they protested for close to 2 months, and you just keep them in detention because they only protested. How do you want young people to get involved in governance if the simplest thing for me to do is just to protest, which is within my own right as a Nigerian, and then you're arresting me for close to 2 months? So you want young people to get involved. So the leadership must make the space a bit civil enough for young people to get involved.
Let me ask Awa now, what are your thoughts on the involvement of young people? I know that at the end of the day, you came up with a communique, some promises which you were able to extract from, let's say, the leadership of the party and even some of the political leaders there, but it was still given that not all opinion was agreed on the manner in which it should take, some people felt, I mean, Mr. Festus Keyamo felt that young people would need to go through the process. There will be need for that, for mentorship and what have you, take your turn on the queue. And, you know, some young people say, no, no, no. We believe that we're ready, we're raring to go. What exactly is the outcome, and what are some of the consensus that you're able to reach?
Maupe, we have gone beyond what will happen. We are now talking about what you have done. In the process of picking our leaders, we have told them it's going to be about what you've done, not what you're going to do. Very soon these people will start telling us what they want to do. We would never allow that to happen. We want you to come out and tell us that your content is clean, that you have a clean character. Come clean with your leadership, then we'll put you in place. We would never buy you or vote for you with we will do or I will do. No. Tell us what you've done. And that is where we are now.
That is as a young person?
And as a young person or as somebody at the age and still energetic. It doesn't have, you see, as much as I'm a young man, it doesn't have anything to do with age for you to go in government.
True, but the reason why you did that is because you want to see young people in politics.
Not just in government. What we did, excuse me, Maupe, not just in government, empowerment. Empowerment. Empower young people to be entrepreneurs. Give us policies that will give us a level playing ground in the business environment. We're not talking about just government. We don't see government as a feeding trough like the PDP sees it. No. They see it as a feeding trough.
You just had to make reference to the PDP.
No, but it's the truth because I'm talking with the PDP. Do you understand? We don't see it that way. We see governance, we see leadership, we see government as giving governance. And anybody going into governance to make money is a thief. So we want the policies of government to give us a free and operating society.
So let us take this example. I mean, let me give you this. Some people will say that just at the beginning of this program, we're having conversations with what young people have been able to do in the fintech industry, even with technology. And they've done amazing things. The kind of money that they have made has been mind-boggling with just the invention, with their creativity and what have you. And we're wondering, why do you think it is difficult? I mean, looking at just where we are with our politics, why is it so difficult for young people to be able to come up with those kind of solutions, you know, that affect us politically? Is it that they have been blocked out? Is it that older people are not willing to listen? Is it that young people are not interested?
But it has started happening. Recently, there is an assembling of an electrical car. Sometimes last week.
That's not going to affect our politics in any way.
You're talking about affecting the economy.
No, not the economy, the politics.
It is participation, Maupe. The young people refuse to come in and participate because they feel it is toggery or they feel it is a place where some people are making money. You come in and participate. You have to have a platform. There must be a mentorship. You have to participate and have a platform of a political party. This is said by our constitution. You have to go on a platform of a political party before you're being elected. You can't just be on the street protesting and you tell me they will now pick you up and just give you a governor. You have to have a political party. And where your right ends, that's where mine begins. So if you're protesting and blocking the road for me, the government is saddled with the responsibility to take you off the streets. And when he said NSAS where protesting was peaceful and the president recently said they wanted to remove him, there was placards that were saying Buhari must go. And when you say Buhari must go during a democracy, it's a regime change. There are institutions in this country and in every country that are manned by the responsibility of protecting the regime. And that was exactly what happened.
Well, you know, sadly, we're so out of time. I wish that we had the time to be able to respond, but sadly, that blackout took quite a bit of our time. Gentlemen, I believe that this is a conversation that is ongoing. There are definitely things to challenge in your statement, Alwan, but let us leave it for now. I believe that this conversation is one that we'll have again, but we have to thank you both for coming on Sunrise Today this morning. Alwan Hassan is a member of the All Progressives Congress, and Emmanuel Lume is the head of new media of the People's Democratic Party. Well, that's been it for this segment. I do not know if we have time enough to take some of your comments. Gentlemen, do we?
Yeah, we're going to squeeze in NSC. Salami says, talking about youth and development. Frankly speaking, I feel sad that these young chaps are not even in power, and there's already, what? Hatred between them? For crying out loud, it's not about APC or PDP or any political party. Obviously, they don't even know the pain in this country. PDP failed APC. No, PDP failed. APC is doing a better job at failing. Can Nigeria not be about PDP and APC? Well, there you go. That is the show today. Well, thank you all for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain. So
I'm Kayode Okikelu.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day.
I'm Malkwe Ogun Yusuf. Thank you so much for watching.